Hey everybody, welcome to the lesson on letting go as part of the Alpha Initiative. We're going to dive right into this because this is the thing that guys, everyone sucks at this, right? But I think guys in particular suck at this because anything that we fall short of, we just internalize and it will just be on this loop in our head for forever. I mean, I one time I did something squirrely at 6 and I can probably catastrophize over it right now. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what stops us from letting go and how we can actually make it happen. So we're going to dive right in, right? Number one thing is, and I know it's strange to think that you have emotions as a guy, but spoiler alert, you do. Emotional attachment, right? It's one of the hardest things for letting go. It's one of the primary reasons that people struggle to let go. And what we're talking about letting go today is like those hurts, those habits, those hangups that are precluding you from being the greatest version of yourself. I can tell you, it's strange. And we go back to some of the other stuff we've already talked about, like when we talk about distracting ourselves from problems and pain. And even in those distractions, you start to get emotional attachment to those, right? So I can speak to, I'm very candid in that piece of content about alcoholism. I had emotional attachment to the booze, right? Because I remembered, there was this good time, or I was with these guys or whatever. And that makes it difficult to walk away from it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times when we're talking about emotional attachments, we tend to automatically think, "Oh, that's a negative thing." No, I mean nothing we've presented is to imply any of this. It's normal. It's human. It's your brain chemistry. It's your
I've known people, I still know them, who have made their entire life be based around an emotional attachment to an individual, whether that person treated them right or treated them wrong. And in most cases, it's that person did something wrong to them, and they have allowed their life to be controlled by that because they are still attached to that event that happened, to that person that happened, even though that person has long since moved on. So as much as they say, this person doesn't have control over me, well, yeah, they're still controlling your life. And again, you need to let go of that in order to move forward. Whatever happened, but now we need to move on. Let it go so that we can move on.
Right. And, we've talked about this a lot, but emotions and feelings are great indicators.
Yeah.
They are horrible action items,
Yeah.
right? They're certainly not things to base your whole life around. I mean, how many people do we know that conflate love and lust? Those are not the same thing, but at the surface, they feel the same way, right?
Right.
Number two, man, this is big. And all three of us have got stories to back this one up, but fear of the unknown. And so anything that has become a part of your life, anything that has just come intertwined with who you are, at least who you believe you are, letting that go and what could become, right? The fear of what's next can stifle forward progress. I can tell you, I'll share my example, and I want to hear from you guys. When I was leaving corporate America to start my business, you guys know this, we were making more money than we'd ever made in our lives, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know this, military is pretty much paycheck to paycheck, especially with 4 kids. They all want to eat, which is crazy. But
Kids.
right? But it was paycheck to paycheck. Now we're making more money than we've ever lives. And I am deciding I need to get out of this space, right? It was crushing me. And so, but the fear of the unknown, the fear of, gosh, we're going to lose this. How am I going to make this back up? All that stuff. Thankfully, I got a ride or die who was like, shut up, dummy, just do it. But it was scary. And I'm not afraid to admit, I was nervous as the sole provider. How am I going to make this hook up? And it could have stopped me if I didn't have the right support system around me.
I remember when I transitioned out of active duty with the military myself, the first couple of weeks out, I remember looking out of my bedroom window going, "Oh my God, what have I done?" Because I started a brick and mortar business at that time and realized it was all on me. So what I've learned about the fear of the unknown is that fear, again, and we've talked about this many, many times in these sessions, that fear of the unknown is tied to not really knowing who I am. The fear of the unknown, and can I really do this? It comes back to me. So that fear of the unknown, again, like all these other things we're talking, it's an indicator of something. And so you need to pay attention to that.
Absolutely. And again, this is something that I experience on a regular basis. And I was actually having this conversation with my wife the other day because we were going through all the events that led us to where we are today. and how every time we just took a leap and we just did, there was fear, but there was also faith, because we had enough evidence, we had enough information to know that the decision that we were making was a logical, reasonable decision, that this would work out. Now, we didn't have everything figured out, but I think that is a big part of overcoming that fear, is planning just enough that you have enough information to go on. But then again, at the end of the day, you're not going to have everything. So get rid of the fear, rely on faith, and take that leap.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something we even talked about in pragmatic optimism, right?
Yeah.
The next one, talk about a
Huge
double-edged sword, right? Guilt and shame. And so here's what we want to unbox on this one. Guys, you, me, these two, we suck at taking credit for anything good. But man, we are freaking rock stars at taking the blame when shit gets sideways, right?
Yeah.
We are all about jumping on that emotional grenade for our friends and family. We put it all on us. Anything, I mean, heck, one of my kiddos has a bad day. It's probably because something I did. I probably screwed up their morning, right? That's what this is. And so what happens then is it starts to fester in our brains and in our souls. And we think, okay, well, all this negative stuff, it's a result of all these things I don't want to let go. I deserve it, right?
Yeah.
I brought this on myself. The bad relationship, the bad conversation, the bad work environment, all that stuff, I deserve it, because we start to quantify who we are based off of mistakes we've made rather than who we actually are.
And you know what I think, Travis, is I think that guilt and shame, that's really, we protect ourselves by doing that. It's a self-protection thing, not a healthy one, because it's vulnerable to actually start believing, wait a second, maybe I am forgiven. Maybe I do have some things together in my life, because then you feel a little bit exposed because there's risk that you're taking on. So that shame is kind of like an armor.
Right.
Yeah. I'd rather blame myself first before anybody else has a chance to blame me for something I did wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw that up there. I'm going to live that, because eventually it's going to come around. But at the end of the day, you're not actually helping anybody. You're not only are you hurting yourself and knocking yourself down a number of pegs, but then the people who you look up to and who look up to you and who respect you and who want you to do well, what they're seeing is somebody who has now lowered themselves, and they want to keep looking up to you, but can they rely on you anymore? Can they trust you anymore? So you got to get rid of it. You got to get rid of that guilt, got to get rid of the shame, and understand and acknowledge the fact that mistakes lead to learning. Mistakes lead to growth. So look at those mistakes and look at all those things causing guilt and shame and say, if there's something I could do about it, let me do it. If not, then let it go. Let it be in the past so that we can create something.
Man, I really love what you said. I'd rather blame myself before somebody else gets the chance to do it. I think that is a true statement.
And the other thing you brought up is such an important point is, if you're a guy, if you have a family, I'll tell you this straight up. If you're a dude on the planet, someone is looking up to you. You may not even know it, but someone is watching you for their cues for life. And if they see that's how you conduct yourself, that you let these mistakes own who you are, then you are now giving them permission. You want to talk about starting generational curses.
Yeah.
That's the real toxic masculinity, right?
Yeah.
Like giving people permission to not liberate themselves from these hurts and hangups, right? Yeah. So you're impacting someone else negatively, not just yourself.
Yeah.
So if you want to be the shining knight, take care of yourself, dummy. So how do we make it happen? How do we take care of ourselves, dummy? And the first one, and this is hard, this is very hard, is acceptance, right? And the first sentence, if it doesn't hurt your dude soul a little bit, then, I don't know what will. Accept that some things are beyond your control. Yeah. Holy shit, is that hard, right? I mean, I wouldn't classify myself as a control freak, but I'm definitely a hyper planner. And so I feel like, if there's a, vanilla ice, if there's a problem, I'll solve it, right? Like that's how I feel about things. And when it doesn't jive, it's hard. And so just accepting that there are some things that I can't control, and then embrace the idea that acceptance does not mean approval, but it's a step to letting go, right? It's not saying that I'm okay with what happened. Yeah. It's saying I accept that it did happen, and now I got to make a plan to move forward.
Yeah.
It goes back to what we were saying just the other day, and it's this idea of, okay, this is my lot. This is the cards that I have been dealt right now, and I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to build something bigger and better out of it. I'm not going to allow the situation currently to deride me and to cause me to falter, but I'm going to take this, use this rock bottom as my solid foundation upon which I'm going to build a better future.
Absolutely. I have a feeling that the guy just to my left is going to have a few things to say about this next one. Because here's the thing, it's like we talk about in all these micro examples is these are superpowers of guys until we try and apply them to ourselves, right? So practice forgiveness. Now, here's the thing. I will give my 2 cents on self-forgiveness, and then I will give my 2 cents on forgiving others, and then I will let you guys run. So this comes off spicy. I'm cool with it. Forgiving yourself is absolutely essential. And it's one of the hardest freaking things you're going to do as a guy, because like we said, we love to take the blame. We love to take on the world's hardships as our own problem, right? You've got to do it. Now, when it comes to forgiving others, here's my take, and it may differ from my cohorts here, and that's totally fine. I need to forgive other people because it frees me of the attachment to you, right? So does that sound selfish? Sure, but I'm going that fucking way. I don't have time for more stuff in my rucksack. I don't have time for people dragging me down, right? Everyone says, don't burn your bridges. Screw that, dude. I will burn a bridge before you can blink hard 2 times, but I make sure to leave them the supplies on their side to rebuild that bridge. So if you want to improve, you want to catch up to where I'm going, awesome. I'll see you when you get there. But I'm not going to slow myself down because you're toxic. I forgive you. Sucks, man. Hopefully you can square yourself away, but I got to go.
Yeah, I mean, we don't disagree. I accept that. I accept that. See what we did there? Forgiveness, it is for you.
100%.
Right? You have to start with yourself. All right. And forgiveness is not making an excuse. All right. Forgiveness is owning your stuff, forgiving yourself for where you failed. Because guess what? Every one of us have failed. That's not to say everything is your fault, but everything is your responsibility. That's how I was taught about it. And there's a big difference between that. That's a whole other conversation. But forgiveness releases the resentment that somebody else owes you anything. Remember, if you've listened to our previous sessions, we talked a bit about you're not special, but you are unique. A person who's special thinks they're owed something, therefore they withhold forgiveness. A person who realizes I'm not special, but I am unique, they can forgive and release the other person from owing them anything, practice that acceptance, practice that forgiveness, and move forward in who they're designed to be, who God's called them to be, in my opinion.
So this was actually big for me because most of this only sunk in yesterday, because there have been some events throughout my life and individuals that events that I've experienced with individuals that I've been close with who at any point or another did or said something that really threw me for a loop. And there's one individual in particular with a specific event at a very important part of my life where I held on to that event. I held on to the outcomes of that event for a very long time, and I couldn't forgive. My life has moved forward in a really good way, and his life hasn't because he keeps behaving the way he was behaving back then.
Right.
The other one was, and I'll be open and honest with this, was with my father. My father and I had a very strained relationship, and we worked on it time and time again. And the problem there was that I was trying so hard to be his son instead of trying to be myself.
Yeah, right.
And I was holding on to, like you said, I want to be me. I need to be me. I have to be I. But at the same time, I need to be who everybody else expects me to be, especially my family. And when I was able to forgive myself for not being who my father wanted me to be and actually tap into who I am, that is when things in our relationship shifted. Because eventually they do come around. They'll see that. And forgiving yourself for who you're not and for what you haven't done, really, it's very freeing to allow yourself to become who you're meant to be and what you're meant to do.
And how many of us need to forgive our dads for something?
Oh, yeah.
And how many of our kids are going to end up needing to forgive us of something?
Absolutely.
Not mine.
Yeah. Well,
no way.
One exception.
Teflon. All right, number 3. You know, man, I had a way I was going to pitch this, but today, reading it again, I'm going to just go a little different. So bear with me. Seek support. So this, if you've been paying attention, if you watch any other content, you know that this is one of the cornerstones of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Guys need support. Believe it or not, you need people in your tribe. You need other dudes around you. But it says share your feelings. Okay, I'm going to take pause on this one real quick. Because what we're talking about is acceptance, right? We're talking about acknowledgement. Some of the other content we talked about, really owning the fact that you do have an issue or a pain point. Super important. What I'm not talking about is bleeding all over everybody.
Yeah.
So in some of the other content, if you watch the masterclass, we talk about how society is telling guys to act like this now, right? And what we're seeing is society telling young men to go out there and share your feelings. And it's okay to cry. And it's okay to feel all the feels. When you have someone who has that little emotional control, you have a dangerous human being on your hands. You have someone who's not going to be able to control themselves when the shit really does hit the fan. So what I'm suggesting here is you seek a support system where you can have diarrhea of the mouth. Like I can call these two at 3 a.m. and be like, dude, Tuesday sucks and here's why. And they're going to shut up and listen and go, yep, roger that, move on. Thank you, talk to you later. That's it. That's what you need to acknowledge the feelings, share them, purge that junk, and then get on and go be a frickin' man. That's my rant on it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you know what you're not hearing us say, "Oh, don't cry." All right, that's not what we're saying. I mean, there's science behind tears. There's actually different kinds of tears based on what's going on with you internally. There's massive science behind it. You can check it out. What we're saying is, yes, feel what you feel, get that support network, own it, and take action on it. We don't want you being stuck. We don't want to be stuck. And have we busted each other's chops? Straight up, absolutely, we have. And a couple of responses have been, hey, you know what? Screw you. Now lay it on me. Right. I mean, that's the kind of relationship we have here. But that's what you need as a man. That is a brotherhood, is what that is. That's what we're creating. That's what we're talking about, where this can actually happen.
Because here's the thing. We as men imagine ourselves as being superhumans and super warriors, when in reality, we are in fact just human. Yeah. And we have to acknowledge that. So sharing feelings is important because we're acknowledging that feelings do exist. Yeah. It is a part of who we are. But then also, and then moving forward. Again, everything is about moving forward. Like, okay, I'm going to feel my feelings. I'm going to express my feelings. But then I'm moving forward because otherwise, you're seeking support from are in fact the right people, which doesn't necessarily mean qualified licensed individuals who have doctorates or whatnot. Oftentimes what it is it's regular guys who have gone through what you're going through or are going through it now and have been able to find a way out, find the light that can give you some perspective.
And let us be clear on one thing. When you seek support, absolutely, it doesn't have to be a clinician, right? But when you're seeking support, sometimes your buddy may not be the best person because if they're just going to, oh yeah, they're just a horrible whatever, that's really not productive. All right. You need people who are going to challenge you and say, yep, I hear you. It's a bag of suck. What's your role in this?
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you going to show up and rise up? That's the relationship we're talking about. That's the kind of support because that's the real work.
And that actually is a perfect segue into the last point, and that's set boundaries. So if we kind of deconstruct this from the back to the top, even setting boundaries with who you let around you, right? If you're trying to let go of a habit, you're trying to let go of a behavior, you're trying to let go of something that you know is stifling your forward progress, you may have developed a tribe that you love that is only going to keep you in that habit. And I can speak from experience on this. Like we probably all can, where you're trying to leave something behind. And then that echo chamber is like, well, why aren't you doing this anymore? Why aren't you doing that? You're different. Man, don't internalize that as negative. That's the best news you've ever heard, because that means it's working. That means you're actually letting go. That means you're actually making progress. And be able to say no, right? Even to that ride or die crew that you've known for 10, 15 years, to go, hey, gents, I love you, but I got to leave you where you are right now because I'm going this way.
Yeah.
And that's in all your relationships. It's okay to say no. It's okay to prioritize yourself occasionally. I'm not saying put yourself on a pedestal. I'm not saying, if you turn to that person on social media, I'll track you down. I'm saying be the kind of person that goes, you know what? My plate is full. I don't need one more thing.
Yeah, 100%.
No, and I've seen it. I've seen it with guys who, let's say a drinking problem. They worked so hard to get over their drinking problem, and then just being around a different group who were very pushing, and then they got back into it and they realized, okay, shit, I screwed up.
Right.
So surrounding yourself, it doesn't mean that those people are bad people. It's just they're not the right people to spend the time with to help you move your life forward. If you're looking to move your life forward, which, let's be honest, if you're watching this, you are, then finding those people who are not necessarily in the same society, in the same culture, in the same religion as you, finding those people who will help you to move forward is so extremely important. And it's not just those people in your immediate circle. You have to go out of your circles to find those people.
And again, because men suck at this, suck at setting boundaries, I want to clarify for you that boundaries are not control.
Yeah.
All right. It's not about setting a boundary so you can control another person or impose your will on them. That's controlling. That's manipulative. That crap doesn't fly. Boundaries are you saying, you know what? You have free will to do what you're doing. That doesn't feel right for me. That's not where I'm at. Therefore, I'm going to set this boundary in place. That's for yourself. It's not vindictive. It's not based on resentment. It's not based on bravado. And it's certainly not based on control and manipulation. So again, because men suck at this, we got a lot of work to do in the area of boundaries.
And, the Segway champ comes through in the clutch again. Here's the last thing men suck at in this lesson is celebrating progress. And again, like all the things we're talking about that guys suck at, we're actually amazing at it when it comes to someone else. I mean, I've got 4 kids. And of the 4, 2 of them at one point played like little soccer. You guys have been there, right? You've seen little soccer. And I was like, great job. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Is it really soccer?
Look, man, straight up, my son, bless his heart, he's 18 now. I watched him pretend to be Spider-Man for an hour and a half one day, not playing soccer at all. I'm like, good job out there, buddy. Right? We can celebrate other people's wins, but we have a horrible time celebrating our own.
Yeah.
Like, turn that around to something. It is okay, and again, in my business, like when things are going great, my wife will be like, gosh, you're so amazing. You're so whatever. I'm like, no, shut up. Right? I dismiss, I deny all that stuff that we talk about in other lessons. It's okay to own some of that. It's okay to go, man, I kicked today's ass.
Yeah.
Also notice it doesn't say celebrate success.
Right.
And the achieving of a goal. It says celebrate progress. That if you got one step closer to whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, that is something to celebrate. And it's extremely difficult. I mean, I was doing this just last night. I was thinking about, where are we right now in our life? Where am I right now financially? Where am I in my career? Where am I in my business? Where is my wife? Like all of it. Where are we right now? And I was going down the rabbit hole of negativity because we are not where I want us to be. But I have to acknowledge the fact that it's another 5 to 10 years to get to that place. So the fact that we are better off financially than we were just last year, the fact that my kids are happier than they were 2 years ago, this is all extremely important. The fact that last night I said my prayers when 2 nights ago I didn't. This is all progress. And you have to celebrate the progress, because otherwise we get lost in the fact we think we haven't accomplished anything. We haven't gone anywhere. When in reality, no, you look at where you were 5 years ago. Today, you are the person you were hoping that you would be 5 years ago. And you have to celebrate that.
And one of those things that every one of you can celebrate is that you're doing this.
Yeah.
That shows progress, that you're willing to invest some time. You're willing to invest some energy in your growth, your development, your progress. So celebrate that. Give yourself a freaking attaboy for that. That's huge, because you are in the minority of men who are actually working on themselves in this kind of way. And again, it's not about doing it perfectly. It's not about getting
close knit group of dudes who are going through life feeling the same feels you are, they're going to be the ones to pull you up and say, no, you are kicking ass. And if you don't take the time to do that, you're not surrounding yourself with the right people, your chances of letting go of the stuff that's slowing you down are almost zero.
Absolutely. And if you're not ready to start celebrating your own success, then like Travis said, get around those people, because the very first step to celebrating your own success is saying thank you and acknowledging when somebody else celebrates your success or your progress. To be able to say, I got that. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's huge to be able to start receiving it, and then you can start turning it around, doing it for yourself. So get that good group of guys who are going to do that, who are going to celebrate your progress for you.
That's good advice. You should take that.
I love you, Travis.
I love you, yes.